Well, it's not every day I get a special guest here on the show, but that qualifies today. Miller Moss, the quarterback at Louisville, now formerly at USC, joining me here on the show. Miller, let's dive right into it, man. I appreciate you being here, but talk about what these last few months have been like for you. Of course, you go into the season as USC's starter. You got people like me and a lot of others talking about how great of a match it could be. And by the end of the season, you're watching a lot of those games. What was
Right.
it like to go through that this past year?
Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting experience to say the least. It was definitely like being my first year as a full-time starter. It was kind of a wild introduction. I mean, obviously, like playing in some pretty significant games, and then just how the season unfolded, and then obviously having the opportunity to come here. I don't think I could have planned any of it. um, but I think in hindsight, I'm grateful for a lot of those experiences. And I think I'm better for them, regardless if they're positive or negative. I enjoyed some really high highs and had some low lows as well. But everything difficult that I've gone through in my life up to this point has made me who I am. So in hindsight, I've always been grateful for those difficult experiences. So yes, there were some difficult things. There were some really good things, some really fun things. And at the end of the day, I learned a ton, and had wonderful opportunities at the end of the year. So I'm grateful for all of it, and looking forward to a great offseason.
You were a guy that waited several seasons before you got the opportunity to be a starting quarterback for a team. But now, when you first committed coming out of high school all the way back in 2021, the transfer portal wasn't as big of a thing. But now it's here, and we'll talk about that more in the second segment on the show. But what was it about Louisville that made you want to capitalize on that opportunity?
Yeah, I was really lucky, going in the portal that I had some really good and unique opportunities. I think what really stood out about Louisville was Coach Brohm and his pedigree of developing quarterbacks. I just think when you universally look for advice, and I talked to people that I really trusted in, um, they all said the same things about Coach Brohm. His ability to develop quarterbacks, the degree of difficulty, um, of his offense, how his offense will push you to learn and prepare for the NFL. And I got that feedback from a college and NFL level. So I think there's just the consistency of feedback. And then obviously, Coach Brown's message to me as well, was what really pushed over the edge at Louisville.
When you're talking about an offense being, more complicated, more this way, more that way, what exactly does that mean, and how are you attacking that here in the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously like some technical things. I think just sheer volume, counts also in terms of, how many plays you carry within the system, and then also week to week, throughout the year. I think, there are some NFL based things that Coach Brom does that some college systems don't carry, for the purpose of, whether that's dumbing it down or playing fast or whatever it is. Obviously, everyone has different philosophies, but Coach Brom really pushes his players, to have a unique understanding of his system. In order to play well in the system, you have to be able to comprehend offense, and I think that's pushed me in a lot of unique ways. And I'm excited just going through it, like coming home every night, watching the film, going through the install book. Like it's really pushed me to be better. And kind of circling back to why I made this decision. Like I wanted to go somewhere for a year and eliminate distractions, go to work, and become the best football player I could be. And I've kind of seen that unfold over the past month or so.
When you went into the transfer portal, you were one of the more high profile quarterbacks that had entered. And I think there were a lot of people talking about, hey, could you go here? Could you go there? Could you go to this? I saw a report that, oh, he's going to Michigan. I have no idea if that's accurate, of course.
Yeah.
I just read and report here on the show. That's kind of how
Yeah.
this whole ordeal works. But
Right.
how did it come to be that Louisville was the one that stood out? Because I presume there was some legitimacy to, there wasn't just one school that was interested in having you be their quarterback, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I was lucky to have a bunch of opportunities at a bunch of great programs. I think for me, like I tried to see through the name brand and the logo, and go to a place that really was going to be the best for me, regardless of maybe outside perception or whatever it may be. I'd kind of done the deal where I played for the sexy brand name school, and I think maybe in picking that school, I overlooked some obvious things that maybe weren't the best for me. Um, so I think just in sitting with my family and the people that I really trust and value their opinions, we really wanted to make a concerted effort to make this decision for all the right reasons. and I've been very happy so far.
How much of that decision was rooted in Coach Brohm versus maybe the roster that you're going into, or what kind of preparation do you do when you're making that decision of, hey, they've got these receivers coming back, or this guy's there, or I expect them to be this, or look at what they were this past year. They were an 8-4 team. Now some people, maybe or maybe not the host of this show, I don't know, I can't remember. Some people predicted Louisville to go 8-4 this past season, right on the money. So that was the expectation for some. But how much did the non-coach factors, but still football related, play into your decision to be a Cardinal?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely a decent amount. Like you're not going somewhere to go 6-6. You don't. That's not the goal. And I think when I looked at the construction of the roster, with the backs coming back, with a really solid tight end and Nate returning, and then obviously Chris Bell and Colin Lacey coming back at wide receiver, we added some talent in the transfer portal defensively that I think is going to really help us out. And yeah, I mean, I think I got to spend some quality time with some guys on my visit here. Got to go to a volleyball game with Chris and Colin. Our volleyball team is actually really good. I don't know if anyone follow. I didn't really follow college volleyball until I went to the game and realized we were really good.
Volleyball's electric, man. I'm
Yeah,
here for. Have you been to a volleyball game before? Because it's fantastic action.
not really. I mean, maybe not since middle school or high school. But yeah, it was cool. We're really good, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's very hard, especially in a sport like football. Like this isn't basketball where you have one star player, and it's like an Anthony Edwards at Georgia situation where he can kind of carry the team and he's going to shine regardless. In order to be great in football, like you have to have a really good supporting cast around you. So that was absolutely something that I weighted in making the decision, and I think we have the talent here to be really successful.
When you came in and kind of had let everybody know, like, hey, I'm here, this is what is all going down. Were you buying beats for the offensive linemen and dinner for the receivers, or like how was that transition for you to just kind of introduce yourself, because you've got just the 1 year of eligibility left, right? And
Right.
so this is your last hurrah in college football, but in that time you're trying to establish yourself as a leader, get to know these guys, and get really close with them. What has that aspect of it been like so far?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I think, for me, I've always viewed leadership as something that was earned. I've always kind of seen people that prematurely step into leadership as something that's not necessarily inspiring to those they're trying to lead, if that makes sense. So I really tried to come in and just demonstrate to the locker room that I think sometimes the quarterback gets put on a pedestal, and that's just the reality of the game. They're going to get the credit similar to the head coach, and they're going to take the heat. And for that reason, in a lot of ways, they're put on a pedestal. And I like my biggest thing coming in was just show the team that I'm going to work really hard, that I'm the same as everyone else, that there's no hierarchy to this, that I'm just as important as the kicker, as the walk on, as the coach. You know what I mean? And just really help promote a positive locker room culture. And I think when your team sees that you're willing to lay it on the line for them, and you're willing to do everything it takes to go win games and be the best version of yourself, then you can then step into that leadership role. So I think like I said, my attitude towards leadership is that really has to be earned, because you step into a locker room of 100 guys and you haven't demonstrated that you can lead them. You haven't demonstrated that you're about them and that you're going to put them first. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how good of a player you are. Like those guys aren't going to back you when stuff hits the fan. And like you play in these big games, like I've had the opportunity to play in, and there are some of those moments where like you really need to lean on each other. Like you're down 2 scores at half against a top 10 team or whatever it is, and like in those moments, you really have to know that the guys you're stepping into that locker room with have your back and that you have theirs. So that's really how I've tried to approach it. Obviously, we've got a long way to go, and a ton of development to go, but I'm happy about it so far. Coach Reno's done a phenomenal job, along with the rest of the strength staff. So we're getting ready for spring and excited.
Have you won any weight room battles yet?
We haven't really had any weight room battles. We do like, uh, we do like mat drills and conditioning and stuff, and obviously that gets competitive. We do these kind of games within speed drills and stuff, but I guess we did we do like the hangs, and whoever can hang, like dead hang for the longest. I didn't win that.
Gotcha. Okay.
One of the little slot receivers won that, but he might have me on the body weight, so it might be a little easier.
Yeah. I mean, I might have you on the body weight, but I bet you'd win if we went up.
I would hope so.
Up and did it. Yeah. Well, if you want more from Miller Moss, stick around because there is more coming your way after this.